Hey, welcome to this faith moment for this Friday. I reckon when I've been looking back at some of my concoctions recently, I've looked quite miserable, not upbeat or whatever. But do you know, it's really hard when you're looking at yourself in a picture to be upbeat. I look at my lip here, for instance, and I've had to use a different razor today, and I've made a mess of it. There we go. Anyhow, do you know, last weekend I went and climbed Ingleborough with my daughter and grandchildren. They've been doing peaks in the Lake District and Yorkshire, so I thought I'll join them. Now, do you know, that's the farthest that I've driven in 5 months. 68 miles each way. Ridiculous, isn't it? So what's that got to do with faith? Well, it was raining. Should we bother? Should we not? Well, we'd driven all that way, so I was determined we were going to go anyhow. And it brightened up. Now, after we'd been walking for about a mile on an easy road, now I've climbed Ingleborough before, but from the Ingleton side, not from the Hawes Road. So, having walked about a mile, we came to a gate. And then the other side of the gate, there was these amazing limestone slabs, one after another. Sort of a narrow way. Now, it's a bit sad this, isn't it? But I was thinking as I was walking along there, what should I do for my next faith moment? You think I've got better things to do, wouldn't you? When I'm out in the fresh air looking up at Ingleborough with my grandchildren around me. But then it struck me, you know, it was quite funny really. I thought about the word narrow. Now, perhaps you can't see this picture up here, but that's a narrow window in a church. Well, there are a few narrow windows in Ezekiel, but apart from that, the word narrow really only appears significantly 3 times. Now, you'll know 2 of them. One is in Matthew and one is in Luke. In Luke, you've got the narrow door. Enter through the narrow door while you can. Now in Matthew it said, enter through the narrow gate. And then it goes on, a bit depressing really. Jesus saying, but the way to life is hard and few find it. Narrow. You see, when you walk on these slabs for a bit, because on either side there are, it's really boggy, nice looking green bog. It looks just grass, but you put your feet on it and it sinks into water. And you've got these amazing steps, one after another. My grandson likes maths, so I got him to count them, because he gets a bit bored when you're walking along sometimes. But he really got into it, and apparently he reckoned there was 1,876 of these slabs. Say they're about 3 foot each, that's over a mile. What is it? 1,700 and, I don't know what, 26 yards to a mile, is it? I forget. Anyhow, it's irrelevant. What I suddenly thought was, why is life so difficult along a narrow path? Because you haven't got anyone to speak to, because everyone's either in front or behind and you're on your own. So that's where you start thinking about things. Now, I don't want to talk about either of those today, because I was thinking, really, there's a third one, if I remember right, and it's in the book of Numbers. It's a really weird thing, and it's about the narrow path. Now, there was this king, he was called Balak, and he was the king of the Moabites, and he'd seen what the Israelites had done to the Amorites as they were making their way to the promised land. They virtually wiped them out. He was afraid. So he decided to do something really strange. He got some of his messengers to go off and find Balaam. I think that's right, Balaam, Balaam. Now he was a kind of a prophet, a sooth, and he lived near the Euphrates in a place called Pethor. You see, that's near Egypt. He's got to go all that way. And they bring him back. Now, God was a bit angry with Balaam because God didn't really want him to go. Because Balak wanted Balaam to curse the nation of Israel. So he gets on this road, on his donkey, and would you believe it? A donkey actually sees an angel of the Lord. The angel of the Lord has got a sword in his hand. So the donkey veers off the road into the field. Balaam thinks, what on earth's up with this donkey? And gives him a kick. Not very nice, is it? So then they go a bit further, and the path gets narrower and narrower. And the donkey sees the angel of the Lord again, stood in front of him with that sword. So he tries to get to the side, away from the angel, and scrapes Balaam's foot against the wall. So Balaam gets really annoyed. And then they go on just a little bit further, and the donkey falls flat on the ground, and the legs of Balaam are underneath the donkey. So he really gives him a whip. And the donkey then speaks to Balaam. Would you believe? Here we've got a speaking donkey as well. This takes up 23 chapters in the book of Numbers, right in the middle of nowhere. I was thinking about this as I walked along these 1,800 steps, as I was looking up at the mountain there, trying to remember what actually happened next. Well, what happened next was that the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord. The angel told him to continue to go to Balak, but only say, when Balak asked him to curse the nation of Israel, what the Lord gave him to say. And this is what I'm coming to. This is what really struck me. You see, Balaam gave 4 what were called sort of oracles, prophecies, bit in verse sort of routine. But the first one basically said that if God hasn't cursed, then I can't curse. So that's the way it is. And Balak was really upset at that. So they went on a bit further. And then he said, God has commanded his blessing upon the nation of Israel. And what God has blessed, he is blessed. And that's an end to it. That is the amazing thing about Jesus. He hung on a tree for us. Cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree. He was cursed that we might receive the blessings of Abraham. The blessings of the nation of Israel are upon us. They're upon me. They're upon you. No one can stop us Do you know, it goes black sometimes, this machine. Just as I'm saying, no one can stop us. And that's true. No one can stop our blessing. Only ourselves can block our blessing. God has commanded his blessing upon us. He's commanded his blessing upon you, upon me, upon our families. Because Jesus has removed every curse. We are blessed. I might tell you more about our trip up Ingleborough next week when I start to talk about faith. Faith in itself, not a faith moment, but Sue's decided we're going to talk next month about faith, hope and love. Or charity, whatever you'd like to call it. So God bless until then.